I have Erin here. We're going to talk, we're answering your burning VoIP questions. I know you have lots of questions about VoIP, which stands for
Voice over Internet
IP.
Protocol. Yay!
Yeah, IP is Internet Protocol, which is your internet. Okay, I'm going to share my screen because we actually found all these questions that people search for, which is very cool. We like the visual. So everybody can see my screen here.
I can, yeah.
I like these questions over here if you want to start there.
Well, what this is, let's tell people what this is. This is a graphic that was built based on some of the searches for terminology on VoIP. So it's broken down into categories. In the middle, you'll have where, how, which, who, will, are, why, what, and when, or can and when. And then from there, you'll have popular or questions that have been asked based on those categories. So I think what Jen and I are planning on doing is just kind of taking a sample here and just talking through a few of these questions.
Yeah.
So do you want to pick one, Jen?
Sure. I like this one. Can VoIP phones be hacked?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you, can they be hacked?
Yes, they can. Of course they can. A VoIP phone is no different than a computer or a printer or other network device. It registers to a server. It is based on your standard IP configuration, and if a malicious party knows what they're doing, they can get to a phone. If they know how to manipulate the back end of a phone, they could potentially get in. Once in, they have a number of options. What many companies like DS Tech do is we safeguard for a lot of this type of scenario. One thing we really pay attention to is remote registrations. So whenever we see phones register outside of their standard setup configuration, we are notified. That's a good first start. And then just to hark on a topic we talk about all the time, it's passwords. With VoIP phones, you can really have a very advanced password in place, and that will all but prevent any type of hacking.
Which is true in almost everything. I mean,
Correct.
having a secure password is your first line of defense.
Yeah.
So right next to it, can VoIP calls be traced?
Oh, yeah, yes. It's a transaction. There is a binary footprint, and it's data. It's ones and zeros being pushed. So
So
you
we
know,
can trace the data, right?
yep.
Yeah.
On just a simple level, um, all of the calls, most phone calls, most phone carriers calls are retained for a period of time. Um, and that's for a number of different reasons. But it's nowadays it's fairly easy to pull call what are called call detail records, and that's going to give you all of your usage and data. I just had a short phone call here before with a client who does marketing, and they have a VoIP phone system, and they market to other regions of their area to try to attract tourism, and they do a lot of area code searches, call record searches based on area codes because they're spending marketing dollars in the area
Sure.
to attract visitors, and they want to know what the return on the investment is. So yes, a big part of phone systems is the ability to.
Yeah. And this one, I know the answer to this one. Can VoIP phones be used at home? Of course. If you have internet, you can have voice over IP. So, which over here, I saw this question that says, will it work on Starlink? It does. I'm just telling you, as long as you have internet. Which, you know what? One of the questions in here, it did ask, let's see.
Well, the one right two below where you just were, or three below. Will VoIP replace traditional telephony?
There you go. Will it? What do you think?
So it already has. I mean, it's really, I think traditional telephony is always going to have a place
Hmm.
in business and in our society. However, that's going to be kind of left behind.
Yeah,
You know, what we're seeing quite often enough now, and even more so, is the merge of unified communications aspects into your telephony or vice versa. So instead of offering just a voice service, these companies now can come in, DS Tech can come in and provide voice, texting, appointment reminders, um, auto response, sophisticated voice, auto attendance, um, quite a bit. So instead of a traditional PBX at your business, it's a little bit more than that nowadays. And I do believe it is replacing it pretty rapidly outside of the small, very niche um, devices or services that you need analog for instance, alarm lines or elevator phones, things like that.
sure, sure. Which, technology changes rapidly. That I'm sure someone will come up with a solution for that too. And you already answered in that little rift that you just had, um, on whether VoIP can receive texts and um, some of the other, what's the word I want? Benefits. Um,
No, I just
no,
read them too while you were talking, and I thought it was good. Where did it go now?
I was down here earlier.
No, it was up. It was up on
It
the
was
top.
up here.
Yeah, I was just reading it while you were. Why it works. No, we won't get into that.
Well, does it work when the internet is down? That one seems to appear in several places on this circle.
But perfect answer to that, yes and no. On the site locally, if the internet is down, no, that call will not hit the desk phone. However, because VoIP is primarily cloud-based, it technically really does not go down. So that client who has a VoIP phone service may, for instance, lose power locally for a period of time. Their phone system is still active. I could still call that client, hit their phone system. I may not be able to ring the phone on the desk. However, I'm still able to leave voice messages. And if they had any call forwarding or ability to ring phones outside the phone system in place, yeah, it'll operate as new. What we've seen over the last year and a half through the pandemic is a lot of businesses have gone remote, and this is exactly how we manage their phone systems by plugging in um, a home number or a mobile number. They're able to then get calls both in the office and at home, regardless of whether or not they have power or the internet service is down, things like that. So it's a very, very flexible, beneficial system for today's business climate. Yes.
I still can't think of the word I was trying to think of. I'm trying to think of all the different things you can get with voice over IP that you couldn't get with landlines. I mean, you get like a package full of features. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. I mean, you get a lot of features all included,
Yeah.
right? I mean, whereas the old landlines, you had to like buy call forwarding or three-way calling or whatever, right?
Yeah, and that's a good segue into another question I see on this wheel here. Um, most VoIP phone platforms or phone service providers have a very rich feature set. They've basically taken that high-end business phone system from 20 years ago and condensed it down into a very smart, fluid, cloud-based system. But with that, you get all the music on hold and the time-based control mechanisms, the voicemail transcription or the email notification. All of it is now built in, very easily managed remotely. So that's going to then allow us to segue into the question I see here on which, under the which line is which VoIP is best or which VoIP service is best. Obviously, I would love to plug DS Tech and Aaron because we do a good job. However, I would just like to point out a few things to consider when making a decision on VoIP services. I guess in my mind, one of the biggest that I would always stress, at least have the conversation with upfront really, is what the agreement is. Is it a contract? Is it month to month? And what are the billable expenses? In phone world, everything is billable usage. So if you're a business that doesn't use a ton of telephone, well, you shouldn't be billed a ton of telephone service. VoIP is very, very, it's much easier to manage than traditional phone service. The second question I would really drill into is support. Mentioned a minute ago, these systems are pretty feature rich, and with that comes, you know, some time investment and some thought investment to have a good support in place, whether that be an IT company, a phone company, or a local staff member, somebody who can get in there and make those changes when needed is important. A lot of times the phone service providers do have built-in support hours or some sort of package in place. So make sure you understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I guess what I would really look into is anticipation for future changes. I think one thing we've learned, one thing we know with technology in general, and one thing we've learned more so recently is it changes very quickly.
Yes.
A VoIP phone system has that capability. It is a living phone system. It can grow, it can condense, it can do a lot of really neat, useful things. So to understand with the jump into the VoIP world, you have to project a little bit as well and think about the future a little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to make sure it's a company that is keeping up with the technological changes. Cool.
I can give just a real quick plug. Again, not here to really ring the bell, DS Tech bell, but I'm available if anybody has any questions. I live in the phone land quite often and deal with a lot of the carriers. So if there are any viewers out there who may have a question, certainly I am a local resource and I'm glad to help our local businesses.
Absolutely. Give us a call and sign up for our newsletter under the little news drop down on our website. So that'll be on our screen somewhere. So all right. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you answering some of those burning questions. All right. Make it a great day.
Yeah, let's see you later, Jen.
Yep.